late. So today we're going to talk about the foster care experience. My name is Tiana. I am a licensed clinical social worker in the state of Texas, but I'm originally from Kansas. So this foster care experience episode is going to be with me, Claire, and Kristen, and we're all grew up in the system in Kansas. So I'm going to join with them and they're going to introduce themselves. All right. Hi, Claire. Hi, Kristen. Let me fix that. So, Kristen, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Kristen Nicole, and I describe myself as an abolitionist. I'm trying to move away from using the word advocate, and I live here in Kansas where I spent most of my time in foster care and the juvenile justice system.
Awesome. Claire, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Claire Indergagura, or Claire Granger, as I did get married. Hey. I I'm an entrepreneur here in Kansas. I live in Lawrence, Kansas, and also just like a social organizer as well. And I was in foster care here in Kansas as well. I aged out. And I love to be able to have these opportunities to talk about foster care. I often talk about it on my own, just on all of my social media and all the things that I went through and what I'm still healing from. Healing, I always come from a point of healing because that's really important to me. So, hey.
I actually didn't age out. I got out of the system at about 12. I remember being halfway through my sixth grade year. Kristen, did you aged out of the system, right?
Basically, I got stuck in the juvenile side and then went to the adult.
So
Mm.
it's this basically conversation is going to be from three different areas of the system because I was in adolescence, but I was able to reintegrate with my family. Claire aged out of the system, and then Kristen actually aged out of the juvenile justice side of the system. So, um, how long would you all say you were in foster care?
I was definitely in there from age 12. It was 12 or 13 to 18.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely I mean there were like multiple incidents between my mother and I kicking me out and then calling me in as a runaway. And then I eventually got in trouble with the legal system and that's what finally actually got me out of the home,
Hmm.
which it ended up being safer, well, safer in some ways being in foster care, but it took like actual police intervention for me to actually be placed into foster care. And then they're like, wait, you're actually a child in need of care, not juvenile. So it was a weird situation for me. But yeah, from 12 to 18.
Kristen, how long were you in the system?
I entered into foster care at 13, and then at 17 is when they closed my foster care case and put me only in the juvenile offender side.
And I was in the system for 7.5 years. I get got into foster care at the age of 5, and then got out at 12, 13. So, speaking of entrances into foster care in 2020, so basically the year of COVID, children under the age of 18 that entered into foster care was 213,000 and
Oh
some
my
change.
gosh.
So I don't know if that had any effect because of COVID or if that's a typical number, but that's quite a bit. And then of those kids, 21% were Hispanic, and 20% were Black, which is actually a pretty high number because of the childhood population in the United States. Only 14% of those are Black, and 26% are Hispanic. So that's a lot of our children that's going into foster care.
Yeah.
So,
I definitely remember some of the comments just on social media during during like the highest part of COVID,
mhm,
and how like children who were, in homes where they were, probably being abused before, how that was going to get worse because
mm,
now, there's no breaks. No one goes to school and finds solace in school. The parent who maybe the abuser isn't going to work, because everyone was stuck at home. And so it's interesting that the numbers did go up and they went into foster care because, I mean, clearly there was more intervention.
right,
Um, things were, I mean, definitely a lot more probably came to light because if you're up in each other's face all day every day and someone else hears that
yeah,
and yeah, that does, so it almost actually doesn't surprise me about the numbers being so high.
for sure. Did either one of y'all spend any time in group homes? Because I know in Kansas there was a such thing as group homes instead of just foster homes. Did y'all? Both of
Yeah,
y'all did.
for sure.
Okay. What was y'all's experience in group homes? And like how many group homes did you go to? One, and then what was y'all's experience in them? Uh,
Who
Claire
do you want
first.
Well, I'll go. Um, yeah, so I was in 2 group homes over my time in foster care, maybe possibly 3. I have to think about it. My memory. So what they don't talk about is trauma from foster care and like the memory issues that you end up having, and definitely that you have during the time frame. Tiana, when you asked like how long were you in foster care, to actually count the numbers and realize it was only like 6 years is insane, because to me that was it. I'm 30 now and it still feels like it feels like 30 years in foster care.
Yeah.
But I definitely have trauma to where I can't, like, I have issues with telling time and like how long time has passed, and I also have ADHD, so that is a part of it. But definitely the trauma from foster care does not help at all. So anyway, I was definitely in 2 group homes. One in here where I live in Lawrence, Kansas, and one was in Pittsburgh, Kansas, where I had a placement. And of course, there was always JDC too. Like I was kind of in and out of JDC because once I had gotten in trouble, then like it takes you a while to get out of the juvenile system.
Mhm.
But because I was also a child in need of care case and not just a juvenile case, I had like, I just had kind of a different situation, I feel, than most foster kids do. So I ended up at what seemed to be pretty good homes or pretty good placements, uh, until, foster care system reared its ugly head and it was time to
Yeah.
move on to the next one. But I can say that my first group home, it was called Elmmakers. I don't know if I should like say what these places are,
Are you
but
gonna speak
Elmmakers,
negative? We don't want to get sued.
I don't want to get, no, I will just tell the truth. So Elmmakers was kind of that first, outside of like the children's shelter here in Lawrence. Um, that was, oh no, I was in 3 because there was a girls' home here too. Yeah, see. So so Elmmakers was like that big group home though, and that was, I feel like I ended up staying there the longest, like the most of my
Mm,
memory. And there were like, of course, different wings and different sides and all that kind of stuff.
mhm.
I do remember some of like the most loving uh, people that work there. I don't know what they're called anymore, but Makers really did have like the most loving people, always trying to like make sure they would check how we felt about things and not just about
Right.
like you need to follow the rules and you need to do this and you need to do that. And like for me, I've growing up now I realize like how much, not that I was like some kind of special star kid or something, but I definitely feel like I had kind of a little bit different treatment than a lot of the
Mm,
other kids that I was around. You know, most were juvenile cases, um, and came from like even probably harder backgrounds than mine.
mm-hmm.
Not that mine wasn't hard, but some came from even worse. And it always seemed like in the different situations I was in, people just had no. It's like they had no hope for them anymore. And
Mm,
it's like you if a kid doesn't have hope for themselves, then an adult has to have it for them. Like kids don't even have time to realize like all the things that can happen in life. And so I often felt it was really unfair because I'd always be the one like pumped up and be like, you're going to be great and you're going to be able to do this. And, you're right. I am pretty great. I
right.
am doing life. But that was just one of the things I noticed in group homes, like growing up, like the different treatment of kids there. So, and then, yeah, there were a couple more. But anyway.
Kristen, how many group homes were you in, and what was your experience in group homes specifically?
I'm not really sure. I think maybe like three or four. But like my foster care experience started in group homes because the first place I went
Mm,
running away was the Wichita Children's Home. So like that's kind of like what I got used to, and I was in detention all the time. So like that was kind of my norm. Like it was more unnormal for me to be in a foster home than it was to be like in a home full of people or like a detention facility. Because I even went to like secure care in Newton every time I ran away, which is in Kansas. If you violate your no run order, then they can lock you up for 6 months in a secure facility. And I spent a lot of time there. I went there 4 times. So I don't know. I think my whole experience was basically group homes or facilities.
So I never experienced a group home other than the children's home, which was at the very top of my foster care experience.
That's
Um,
surprising.
so yeah, I don't remember much about the children's home, to be honest. I remember holidays. That's about it. And then I had four foster homes. So I guess that would total it to a year and a half in each,
Oh,
something like that.
wow.
Yeah. Um, so foster homes was abnormal for you, Kristen. So that means that you probably only was in what, a couple?
Maybe like 4, but I always ran, so, like, I didn't really, like, connect with too many foster parents because I wasn't, like, the type of kid that was like, "Okay, Imma try to make this work." Usually, I'm the type of kid that was like, "If they make me mad for one thing, then I'm leaving." So that's
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah. So those were the
uh,
kids I looked up to because I was the one who was like scared. I'm like, who's gonna take care of me? So so you were classified as a runner. That's what you were. So I was a runner too, but it was different because like I didn't start running away until they always knew that somebody else was influencing me. So they were like, "You're not a runner, but we're still going to classify you as a runner." And that
Peer
was
pressure.
yeah. But like it was because I was influenced by other people. I'm like, "Okay, fine.
mm.
Whatever."
So, so when y'all reflect on the homes that y'all were in, foster home or group homes, what was your favorite placement and why?
Kristen, you want to go?
Do you have
Mm.
one? Because I mean, let's just be clear, foster care is not a walk in the park. So some people may have their favorite memories, which I think I asked that later. Some people may have a favorite placement. Some people may not just have anything to do with it at all, because I mean, and I guess I probably should have put a trigger warning at the top of this episode because I know that while it's easy for us or easier for us to have this conversation, it's not an easy conversation for everybody. And so, reliving the life of foster care and the experience may be difficult for other people to hear too. So, I'm late, but trigger warning.
Trigger warning.
um, so, I'll go first. My favorite placement. Um, I don't know that I had a favorite placement. Everywhere was different. Um, I had good times with every placement, but I had terrible times with every placement. Um, I know that at the end, I kind of felt like I was finally coming into my own. So I guess I would say probably my last foster home would be my favorite because I was able to kind of learn who I was as a person and what I was not going to be when I grow up. And so it kind of molded me, that home did, into who I am now.
I can't say that I had a favorite placement. I definitely had placements that were more favorable than others. I had placements that had a few better experiences, but I'm definitely like most of the time, I'm a glass half full person. And so I feel like I had really good like learning experiences that I took from probably like my last three placements. So that was my foster my foster parents, um, who lived in Lawrence, and that actually ended like really traumatically, but I still have like a life lesson that I learned from them. And the foster mom, she always said, always have enough money to get yourself even a candy bar, get yourself
Mm,
something from the gas station. Always have enough money to be able to do that because it's going to make you, I mean, first you're going to be able to treat yourself and then you're going to like, okay, go about your business and go make the
right.
rest of the money that you need to in life, you know? So I appreciate that. But there was little life lessons that I appreciate from each place that I learned, but I can't say I have like a favorite place that I stayed at.
Yeah. What about you, Kristen? Anything come to mind?
I don't really like any of my placements or like my foster homes that I went to because I feel like there was always stuff that I didn't agree with. But there was this one placement that I had in like Johnson County, and I think that's the one I stayed the longest at. And I think the reason why I liked her the most was because she gave us allowance. But she ended up kicking me out because I got my belly button pierced, which I felt like was super petty. Like that's not a reason to kick somebody out. So she lost her
Yeah.
cool for that.
Lost the cool points.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now I'm gonna ask the opposite. Who was, or not who, no names, because this can get murky. Um,
I can
who
give you
was
some names.
your, where was your least favorite foster, foster home experience?
You know, my actual first, no, my second foster home was the one that was the worst. And uh it's great because I had two main foster homes. The placements, like the group homes, the shelter, all that kind of stuff, those just felt like in between places because the whole idea was for me,
Mm-hmm.
the whole idea was looking for another family and that I was going to get adopted because that was like the mindset that like everyone had around me, like you're a good one, you're going to get adopted. Whoops. Anyway, so the like the shelter and then the higher level facility one, it was fine. But I would say the foster homes, my second one was definitely the worst. Trigger warning, I had multiple suicide attempts there. Um, that was what finally actually got me out of the home because my caseworker was like, "Oh no, we're done." And then also to the level that like I wasn't able to like go to school, like I couldn't go to public school anymore because of my suicide attempt. So definitely my last foster home was the worst one.
Kristen, your worst
Mm,
experience. I think I want to just label it experience.
I would say probably like being placed with my grandparents because I had like false hopes that if I went with my family then maybe like life would be better. But
Mm.
they ended up treating me just like I was a kid in the system. Like they followed all the rules. Like even if I went to my friend's house, like they would want me to stay on the porch because they said that I wasn't allowed to go inside my friend's unless they had a background check. So I like got even more mad being with them because I was like, y'all are my family. Like, why are you treating me like I'm some random kid that you don't even know? Like, they were super strict. And like, the whole
Yeah.
reason I couldn't do good was because I didn't want to be around strict people or like always feeling like I was being like told what to do. Like, I could never be myself. So for me, I think living with my grandparents was the worst because like they treated me like a foster kid. I thought that I was going to live with family and I got basically manipulated into thinking that it was going to be better when it wasn't.
And I think I'll tell mine after the statement, but I feel like that is one thing that they do wrong in the system is they literally isolate the kids from everything that they've known. I remember when I first got in the system, I had a really good girlfriend. Like we were sisters, and there was a few times that they would allow me to go visit her, but well, I will say it was probably my fault. But at some point, though, I wasn't allowed to visit her anymore. I wasn't allowed to call her anymore. I wasn't able to keep that connection. And so it's really difficult when you're snatched from your homes and then you're supposed to erase however many years of friendships, of family members, of love that you've had. Regardless of what the situation was, there's still people that you were connected to that now all of a sudden you're not able to contact anymore.
Yeah.
Um, my worst experience was my third foster home. Um, it started, I believe I was one of the first foster kids in that home. Um, and it started off okay. Like it was a typical foster home. You gotta when you go to a new home, you have to learn the way they do things, learn how they, clean their house because everybody's different, learn how they fold their towels, like, you know, relearn everything that you've learned from other people.
Right.
Um, she was very religious. We went to church 3, 4, sometimes 5 times a week. Um, we were involved in everything, choir, everything. I don't, looking back, I don't know where the turning point was, but things got abusive. I remember that there was times where, she had grandkids, her grandkids who were maybe a year difference than me, but not very old, was able to do things. They go to the movies. My older foster siblings were able to go to the movies. Meanwhile, I had to stay back, clean, do all the hard work. Um, and then, you know, she got physical with me. I remember one incident in particular where we came from the grocery store and she would make me mostly put up all the groceries. And I remember this particular time I didn't put up, I believe it was a Pam can, like, the Pam's cooking spray. where she wanted me to. And so she hit me with it. Um, so I remember that like it was yesterday. And I just remember wondering, like, what did I do to be in this situation? Like, I don't do anything. I'm nice to everybody. I do what I'm supposed to do most of the time. Um, but that I think was my worst experience. Um, and then I I think I remember I finally got the courage to speak up to my case manager, and she was like, "What's going on?" And I told her. She quickly left after that, though. But ever since then, I think I was removed maybe the next week, and I believe she got her license revoked, from what I heard, but
Okay.
it wasn't quickly. It wasn't quickly. I believe it was like a year later. The foster kids that she had is how I found out. Like I remember they dragged me to court, but they kept pushing it back, pushing it back, pushing it back. I don't know what that was about. Probably investigations. Um, but I remember my foster siblings. They ended up in the same foster home that I was in after that, and um, they told me more or less that she got her license revoked. But I remember initially they were pissed off. They were so, like my foster siblings that was with me in that home were mad because they had freedom there. Like for them, it was probably one of the best homes they had because they were able to do whatever they want, roam the neighborhood. They were able to, hang out with their friends. But for me, it felt like slavery. And so uh I mean, after that, it was pretty much like every man for themselves. I would say that was a turning point for me as well.
Yeah.
Um, so it was, an experience, and that's why I say everybody's experience is different. Some people have good experiences, but there's a lot of abuse that happens in these homes as well that nobody talks about. Like some people, and I would say it happens more often than not. Even when you do speak up, I got lucky, right? I will say that I got lucky that my foster care worker actually believed me. Like there's a lot of times where kids speak up and they don't get believed because such and such has been a foster parent for X amount of years. She would never do that. Why would you say something like that? You know? So that was my least favorite placement. So moving on to life after, right?
Love you,
Um,
Tiana. Love
Thank you. I
you.
love y'all too. But so let's talk about life after. So, like I said, foster care for most people, I don't want to say most, a lot of people is not a good experience. They don't really like prepare you for life after. And speaking of preparing, 1 in 5 foster kids that graduate out of the system or age out of the system experience homelessness between the ages of 17 to 19. And then 1 in 4 are homeless from 19 to 21. So that's a pretty good number considering how many kids are in foster care, the ones that are aging out. And then 1 in 5 are incarcerated between the ages of 17 and 19 and 19 and 21. So the odds of children who age out of the system or spent time in the system, success is not really in their favor, right? So I want to talk about what you all did to transition successfully out of the system. Because I know, in knowing both of you, transition wasn't easy. I transitioned at a younger age, so I was kind of able to navigate a little bit better. but how did y'all successfully finally transition out of the system into adulthood?
I think I just made it to adulthood. I just got there. For my transition, I think, I was very lucky that I had a caseworker that kind of held on to me, and had like, she tried a little harder than I think most are able to do for their kids. And I had a little
Hmm.
more, like, here in Lawrence, the community is just really kind of different than it is in most places. And I went from my wait, where did I aged out from a group home, and my caseworker took me to college.
Hmm.
So she's the one who packed up my vehicle, or packed up her vehicle, and helped me move in. And like the juvenile detention center here, like I had, been in and out for years. So they had little like Walmart gift cards to make sure I had enough, money for soap and stuff to get started. So I was very lucky to have that. But then once I was there, it was like, okay, you're done. Bye. And they did at K State, they had a few, programs for at risk students, like basically students who came in. There was a Matt Champions, I can't remember. There was a program that was specifically started to be able to help you. And you could come to them and say, these are the things that I need, these are the things that are going on. There was like a room that you could go to, and there was like extra help for school and classes. But then they also made you do some assignments. So it was kind of counterintuitive, because it was like they made you do more work when
Yeah.
you're already behind in life. You got to do some more work on top of your classwork. So that I wouldn't recommend. But I think that there was like little things that people tried to do to help. And I mean, I didn't graduate. I left school after like 3 years, or 2 years, 2.5, something like that, which is where I met
Yeah.
Tiana.
Yeah, I didn't even go into how I know both of you. But Claire, I met in my journey in college. I don't know where, girl. You can
I
tell the
don't I
story.
don't even know where did we meet? No, we weren't in the same dorm. I don't even know.
I think we may have been in a class together. I don't know, y'all. K
Okay.
State created this relationship.
Yes. K
I,
State created this, and I love it.
now, how? I don't know. But we quickly connected, and well, yeah. I mean, and then we found out we had similar life experiences, and so she's been my sister ever since. And then
Yep.
Kristen, I met at work, and she's just been such a blessing to me too. So, Kristen, how did you transition into adulthood successfully?
I feel like mine was kind of forced. Like, I don't know if I would have like actually changed my life if it wasn't for me being charged with like serious charges. So I think mine was like a blessing and a curse, because like obviously being charged with high level charges is not something that anybody would want to like go through. But because of those charges, I got like a big community of people that basically got me to where I am today. So like having my mentor, Karen, which
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Hi,
Tiana,
Karen.
and then Carol, and then like the center, like y'all were a support system for me. Like I really didn't have friends outside of like people that I met on the run or on the streets or in facilities. So having that like network of women that loved me and like actually cared about my life is like exactly what I needed. And I wish more people that got out of the system had that type of network, because I don't even know if I would be like even the person I am today if it wasn't for y'all, because like the system doesn't care. Like I didn't even know that I had like resources or services for aging out until Karen told me about it. And then she connected me with my independent living worker. But the worker never like reached out to me before that. So just having those resources and like mentors and like an advocacy organization in my community is really like what got me to where I am today.
Hmm. For
Can
sure.
I want to kind of add to that because I think it's really important to just like I have to say this. We may be at successful points in our lives, but I will tell you that coming from foster care, coming from an abusive childhood, coming from like foster parents who were abusive, um, the trouble doesn't stop in your life.
Right.
I don't know about you, Kristen, but for me, like, I have still had probably more run-ins with the law than an an average counterpart my age. I'm 33. I'm on my second child right now. I'm pregnant. Um, and I, I, I think it's really important just to like understand that like you may be out of foster care and you may have to swim on your own at this point in your life, but like the resources that you gain as you get older, like you do have to find them yourself. Not a
Hmm.
lot of people give them. Um, and you have to build your own networks, but like the likelihood of being in trouble or having situations happen um, with the law still continue, especially if you were a juvenile, because there's a certain amount of protection that you just don't have. That, like, if you have a family, if you have people who have taught you certain life lessons, you don't do certain things. But if you have never received those, you're going to continue certain behaviors. And even if you don't do like felony level type stuff anymore, the other stuff is still going to be there. So I have to point that out. Like, I think it's
Yeah,
really
for
important.
sure. I agree 100%. And I wish that that wasn't the case. Like, I wish that, and I have to say this as a social worker. It's That's the part that's difficult, right? Because we have these kids who need us, but we can't even follow them at all. Like, we're not supposed to. Like, our ethics say that we basically can't be friends with them until 5 years after the fact, but they need us now.
Right.
So
That
I think
transition
there's
time
a
is the worst.
it's so important. It's so important. It's just as important as, you know, the growing ages from 0 to 5, right? Because you're basically regaining a new sense of self. You're relearning yourself, you're relearning the world. It's different than what you know. Like, you have these tight strains on you for X amount of years, and then all of a sudden, there's nobody. So now what?
And not only that, the brain isn't completely developed until 24, 25.
Right.
Like like scientifically. The
Yeah,
brain isn't even completely developed.
for
And
sure.
I don't yeah, I just have to say that.
And so I also, because like I said, I didn't age out. Um, but I feel like there's still so many resources that people don't know exist. Like, for example, I don't think people in Kansas know that there's scholarships available if you were in the foster care system from the age of 14 or above. I don't think people know that.
As long
And
as you're not
so,
a juvenile.
right. Well, yes.
As
But
long as
I
you're
think
not a
there,
juvenile offender.
but in that case, there's other programs available, which we got to figure out and combine, because I feel like, again, there's a lack of access, right? These resources exist, but nobody talks about them.
Yeah.
Um, so, what positive qualities do you think are linked that you have to your experiences from foster care?
I think for me, definitely like resilience. Just
Mhm.
although I can't stand it sometimes, because sometimes I would like to just like lay down and not be like a little pop up doll and just keep going. But I think definitely to this new placement, you're seeing these new people. Oh, can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, sorry. Internet was a little slow for a second. When you're going to these new places, Tiana, like you said, you have to learn all these different people and all these different things and how they do things, and you've got to kind of fit in. You kind of become like a chameleon on your own. And I
Mhm.
think I've been able to just, I mean, I think I was able to do this before anyway, but I've just been able to like fit in wherever. And that's kind of a skill I have now is I can fit wherever, however, and like just make things happen. So I think it's definitely something I got from it.
Kristen.
I don't know. I'm trying to unlearn some of my stuff still. Like I know that because of foster care, I could like survive basically anything and like be in survival mode, but I know that's like not good for me. So, I'm trying to like step back and like not have those traits as much anymore because I'm like as somebody with lived experience in a reform type of field, it's really easy for me to like keep pushing myself and telling myself I could do it. But at the same time, it's like sometimes you have to like take a step back because you're gonna get burnt the fuck out, and that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I really think that is positive that I could survive in any situation, but I also think it's negative because I could like burn myself out really easily.
There
For
does
sure.
come a, I, sorry to jump in, there does come a point where you have to step out of survival mode. And that's the whole point is like to get to thriving and not surviving. In the last in the last 4 years, that was my goal was to like, I focused on thriving. I was gonna,
Mhm.
me and Olivia were gonna do the dang thing, and she was gonna go to the school across the street, and I was gonna be a PTA mom and like embrace Claire as an adult and not like hang on to those things from foster care anymore. Like all of the traumas and all of that. And oh gosh, you guys, I even had like an adoption wedding ceremony for myself with my community. And they like helped celebrate me. It was like on one of my birthdays. And I had like an adoption form because I never got adopted and they like signed it. It was all a part
That's
of this like,
cute.
right. It made me feel good. I still feel good about it. So and I was like, you know what? I'm putting all of that trauma and that pain to the side and I want to focus on the healthy things and I want to focus on thriving. And
Mm.
it was good for a little bit, you know. Back to surviving again because life happens, but that's definitely Kristen, I feel you. Sometimes you have to like pick and choose and healing. I think healing is the most important thing. Find the healing that you need so you can thrive instead of live in that survival mode. So,
Yeah, I agree. I think that resiliency is probably number one. And I think that for me, it is empathy, like the ability to be empathetic of people and what they're going through, because you just never know what someone's going through, what their story is. And so I really try to take everything and realize that everybody has a story, and even though not everybody is the nicest, I play a very small role in that story. And so I have to remind myself that I don't know what just happened to them even 5 minutes ago, you know? And so I think that is one of the personal qualities, positive personal qualities that I got from the whole foster care experience. Um, and then negative, because we always got to go back and forth because it's reality.
yeah.
um a negative personal quality that I got from foster care is probably trust. Y'all, let's just be honest. Foster care gives you trust issues. So, as a therapist, I am just going to be 100% honest and say that sometimes I have trust issues. And that came from my experience in foster care.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I have trust issues. I have like a way to control my life without being controlling.
Mm,
But I definitely control my life. Um, and sometimes I can be not the nicest person because of it.
okay,
Truth be told.
that's fair. What's Kristen, what's a negative quality that you feel like you got from the system?
I don't know if it's all the way negative, but I feel like trust issues and I'm always people watching. And I think that's good sometimes too though. Like if I'm in the room, I'm going to sit in the back and I'm going to look at everybody and like take notes of everything. And sometimes I'm like, okay, I don't have to have my guard up all the time. Like these are regular professional people. But then I'll tell myself, wait, hold on. These professional people are corrupt too. So never mind. Watch these
I
people.
mean, that's
Right?
fair. I mean, that's fair, and that's true. Um, I think also that we have to learn how to be in the moment because I feel like we weren't afforded that, right? We were always with our guards up because we
Never
just didn't
feeling
know what was
safe.
next. Yeah, you never knew what was next. So now we have to relearn how to be present for sure. So, what's a funny or interesting story from your experience?
So I thought I was Miss Cute Thing
Oh,
at one of my group homes. And well, you make friends and with people already in the system, so things happen. Anyway, someone introduced me to thong underwear because I didn't know about it before, right? So we went, and of course, we stole a bunch of thongs from Walmart, whatever. Yeah, they already know. Anyway, and I had like this really like cool one on. It had like, and I was too young to be wearing thongs. Anyway, it had like a fringe. It's like a red fringe. Crazy. And I wore it to JDC, which you are not supposed to wear thong underwear to JDC. You're supposed to wear like regular booty covering underwear. And I got caught because they have day school. So if you get in trouble at school, then you go to day school at JDC and then you leave and go home at the end of the night. And so I got caught wearing my little thong.
Why were they looking that hard at your ass? That's what I would have been asking.
Well, you have to change out of your street clothes into the day
uh,
school clothes.
Oh.
It was like shorts and a t-shirt. Oh, but
got
I
you.
but look, I thought I was cute. And so I had that thong line right up above the shorts so they could see it. So they could see the frill. Yeah, I got in trouble for that. My caseworker came and threw all my thongs away. I was so mad. I got all the thongs now.
Oh my gosh.
Can't throw them away now.
Oh man, that's a good one. Kristen, what's a funny or interesting event that
Mine
happened?
would probably be escaping from secure care, and that was just like funny to me because I felt so proud of myself that I outsmarted them. Like I got caught in like 2 days, and I didn't even care. They were like, "How did you get out?" And I told them everything. I was like, "Look, I don't even care about that. It's just a simple fact that I'm smarter than y'all, and everybody knows this. Like I escaped from this place. Fuck y'all.
Because
Like
that
I
one is
did. the window, sneak out the window. Then I got this big old toy box and like pushed it up against the fence. And they had this fence with like these tiny, tiny holes and then like chicken wire at the top. I climbed the fence, jumped off the roof, and I was gone. I was like, I'm out of here. And they were so mad that I outsmarted them, but it just made me feel so good about myself. I was like, yes, that is the biggest FU ever.
And the one in Newton's in the middle of nowhere, ain't it?
I
Like,
had a whole friend calling up, pretending to be my caseworker. They were letting me talk to him every day. Like, your caseworker is calling. I was like, okay, yep, she's calling. It was about
Wow.
my caseworker.
oh my gosh.
See, I would have
All
been
of them
like I would have been your buddy, watching and learning from you.
Nobody wanted to come with me. They were all scared. I had like 3 people that were supposed to come, and I ended up going by myself because
Oh,
everybody.
see, I would have gone. I was the one that would have gone, and like we would have been out.
I would have been like, come on, we're all free. Fuck
Yeah, I
them.
would have
I
been the
wouldn't have
scaredy
thought of it.
cat.
I wouldn't have thought of it myself, but I would go.
I was determined. Like, y'all cannot hold me down.
I would have been a scaredy cat. I would have like, call me when you get there.
Come back for me after you get out.
Let me know what happens. That's so funny.
oh man, I'm trying to think of funny or interesting. So interesting. I don't have many funny stories. Well, I do, but they're not appropriate.
I mean, we just talked about
uh,
songs. How
I know,
inappropriate.
right?
Oh, was that inappropriate? I'm sorry. I didn't.
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
I was just kidding.
But see, my stories, I say inappropriate because they don't just involve me. Y'all's just involved y'all. Mine's involve other people. So my interesting story is so Claire, you said that you were up for adoption at one point, right? Did you have to like do the whole like media run for that? Okay, cool. So, my interesting story is I was in 4th grade and I got, switched over to the adoption side. And so they literally had me doing a media run.
Oh my god.
So I had to do like news stations, I had to do photo shoots. Like y'all remember like Wendy's, Dave's Kids, people, whatever it's called. I don't know what it's called now. So Wendy's had a billboard of foster kids up for adoption, right? Kristen's like, what the heck? Yes, girl. This is
Wendy's
what they
though.
used to. This is what
Wait,
they used to do to us.
what
What are
didn't
they
Wendy's
called?
have like the missing children too?
Yes, and many times you couldn't tell us apart. So let me see what it's called. I forgot what it's called, but it was called. So it's like Dave. So it's called Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption, right?
Oh.
And so they had a bulletin board at pretty much all the Wendy's at this time of different foster kids that need adoption, right? And so they made me do this photo shoot and they posted my picture in the Wendy's. We had to do like 3 or 4 news stations in Wichita, Kansas City, Pratt. It was a hot mess.
Oh,
And
Pratt.
so, yeah, because that was where the little foster care agency was at the time
Hmm.
too. And so I remember, I remember going to the mall. I mean, not the mall, the zoo in Wichita, and I did a segment with Susan and Susan's kids or whatever. Which I kind of wish they like recorded all of them back then, like all the little segments, whatever, and like would go through the post it because I want to see it. But anyway,
I want to see it too.
it's funny because they're like all the way up until I moved, there were still people that recognized me, like random people that recognized me from these TV
That is
series and
hilarious.
stuff like that. But I remember I remember she was like, "Well, what's your favorite animal?" And I'm like, "I think I like tigers." Y'all, I was just saying random stuff.
Listening.
I was like, I'm gonna be an actress. I'm be like, I was just making up stuff because I'm like, what am I supposed to say to these people? Because
Right.
I had no, I honestly, I did not think I was gonna get adopted. Like that was furthest from my mind. Because when I look at all of my foster siblings, that was not the norm. Like they were older, and I'm like, if they didn't get adopted, I'm not getting adopted.
Mm.
So it's so interesting that that was a conversation that came up for many of us, but it wasn't really reality. Like, I don't even think I maybe know one or two people who actually got adopted out of the system. Like,
Yeah.
they pushed it so hard, but that was not reality for most of us. But anyway, so my interesting fact story was me going on media tours and photo
I,
shoots.
I love that. Yeah, that didn't happen to me. I was at a foster placement. Oh, so I was in Elmakers, which was in Columbus, Kansas, and then I went to a foster home in Pittsburgh, Kansas. They're around the same place somewhere. I might be mixing up my years of when I went where, but it was all around the same time. And then I think when I was still in the group home, there was a family who was just around somehow. I don't know, connected somehow. And she had a son that was around my same age, maybe a little younger. And then, it's an older black lady, and she thought that, well, maybe we can talk about adoption. And I'm like, cool. So that was really where the first conversation on adoption came from. And she talked to my caseworker, and she talked, of course, to like the staff and stuff. And I went out on visits with her and hung out with her and her son. I'm just sitting there waiting, like, is she going to take me? Is she going to take me? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? And I think that went on for a few months. And then she just
Yeah.
decided, I think she had some health issues, and she decided that she wasn't going to adopt me. So it just kind of ended from there. So it was basically like a specific person who had been interested. It wasn't like national tour.
Going to,
The, the
girl,
adoption fair.
it was crazy. Like they would take us to, or us, me, to like skating rinks to meet people, mini golf. Like it was wild.
I mean, that
Oh, wow.
sounds fun, but at the same time, that's weird.
Meeting a whole bunch of different people talking about, I could be your parent. Like, no,
That's
it was
that's
wild.
that's creepy. I don't understand it. I wonder if they still do that now. Is that how they
I
do
don't
it?
know. I know that I've seen like the Susan's Kids segments on like the main channel in Wichita. That still happens. But what else they're doing with them kids, who knows? Like it was crazy, y'all.
I mean, I guess you do have to like see the children somehow, and you want to put them in the best light, but it sounds very, I don't know. We live in a capitalist society, and I feel like that just like fits right into like the capitalist
Yeah. Well, and then
tone
the
of
question is,
everything.
how do they decide who?
It's like
Because
going to
there's,
visit a puppy or something. Like, I think
yeah,
which one you like better. I don't like that. That would
Yeah.
make me feel
it's
bad.
wild. But it's like there's so many kids up for adoption. How do you choose which ones you're gonna highlight? Like they're all important.
Oh, no comment.
Claire's like,
You know how they picked. I okay, look, I'm sorry. After being one of the favored children in foster care, I have seen like I see and I know things and I know how they picked them. Yep. I'll be quiet though.
Oh man. So do y'all? Well, yeah. I'll ask. Do y'all still keep in contact with anybody from that life? Foster parents, siblings?
I have some staff that are on my Facebook. But a lot of the staff from the facilities had like policies where they're not allowed to add you until like so many years or whatever. So a lot
Hmm.
of them like made it weird anyways, but some of them are still on my Facebook. I don't really talk to them that much because I do a lot of advocacy work and I always ask them like, "Hey, can you come to this event or can you write a letter of support for this or speak out against this?" And they're always like leaving me on red. So I'm like, "You know what? Fuck y'all."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a few. My caseworker has distanced herself. Um my original caseworker has distanced herself. But like there's my favorite like staff person at the juvenile detention center here. Um, he's now like a detective and um, he's a community advocate too. Like I mean, it's kind of great. He's a black police officer,
Mm.
and he's had to work his way up in the system, and um, you know, he was like that first like male figure to me that like
Yeah.
actually made sense and like I don't know, I just love him and his family and so we're still really cool. Even though I know I drive them crazy. But and then there's just like a few like staff people that I still talk to, my foster parents, either set I don't talk to anymore. After a lot of like the real like racial issues that came out during COVID, people started to show their true colors and it was just like, oh, okay. Like
Oh,
I'm
we
gonna
didn't
have
even
to
talk about that.
oh yeah. So it was like,
So
time to let you go.
I'll come back to this question. I got a question. Have have y'all? So you just confirmed that you were in a home with a white family. Kristen, have you ever been in a home with a person of a different race or culture?
Basically all white. I think I had, oh wait, no, I had one black foster mom, and that was like what I always asked for, but they never like, I don't know. They were like, no, you're not getting that.
So what what was it like? Because I didn't experience that. Like I got blessed with not having to add culture onto the trauma that I've experienced. So what was it like living in a home with someone who was white? They have a totally different culture.
Um, so for the way I grew up, like with my mom in Kansas, I culturally there are a lot of things that I connect with like white families as well as I do with my own family, you know what I'm saying? Um that's never been hard for me, but I will say there were distinctions based on how people live their lives like
Mm,
uh cleanliness was just different. So it
okay.
was like they were teaching us like how to be adults and how to take care of ourselves and all that kinds of stuff. But like, you know, I didn't leave my mom's home until I was like 12. So I had rules. You know, she raised me and I had what was, of course I didn't have act right after a point, but like there were certain things that I'd already gotten down. And definitely when moving into or what I've seen of just white families for the most part. Like the
Hmm.
cleanliness was just different. And so that was always an issue for me. Um, yeah. And I think just also, like I said before, the life lessons that they taught their children, information that they knew that like I don't even think my mom knew, that kind of stuff was different. And I felt like I was getting those lessons, which was a good thing. Um, but that's all I got.
Interesting.
Good Lord, I hope I don't get in trouble for that.
I mean, you didn't say nothing bad.
Okay.
Uh, what was the question before? Do we still keep contact? Um, we're Facebook friends.
Are you going back to the old one? The other one?
Yeah, I didn't answer
Oh, okay.
the if I still keep in contact with my foster families. We're Facebook friends. So here's the thing. I'll speak on it real quick. I had to learn boundaries. I had to learn boundaries because I felt like at some point I got into the mindset that I owed people um, gratefulness. Um, I was doing a lot of kind things. I'm very like caring, right? I think that's how I describe it. So a lot of times when I'm in the area, I'll reach out or no mind to what I have going on, but I just want to check, make sure you're alive, type thing. Do you need anything? You know, because now um, my foster parents are older in age. But I realized that even though I'm doing these things, I don't always get it reciprocated, right? And so at some point, it just clicked that first of all, you're not obligated to be this kind, right? And so maybe it's time to kind of choose you first. And that's in a lot of my relationships. I had to learn to choose me first. So now, for the most part, I'm Facebook friends with obviously not the one that I had a negative experience with, but my second and fourth foster moms. Unfortunately, my first foster mom has passed away now. Bless her soul. Hope she rests in peace. But her family, I'm Facebook friends with. Um, and like a lot of the family members, because I mean, they didn't do anything to me, so I'm Facebook friends with their family members. So that's kind of the right now the extent of my relationships with that life. Uh, oh, this is a good one. If you were elected president or governor or someone of decision making quality, what changes would you make to the foster care system?
Well, boy.
Burn it
Oh,
down.
shut it down. The focus should be on helping families get what they need so they can take care of their children. Obviously, there are people that do not need to have children, and then we need to work on next steps of where someone can safely go. But like, I think the way that they play out adoption right now is like there's not enough families to adopt. There are families looking for kids everywhere, trying to lift mattresses, but they have so many requirements for those
Mhm.
families that they have to go through before they can accept another child into their home, which is important. But at the same time, like, I don't know. I have a very people-based view of life. Like I have a very like this is a person, they're going to have issues, but are these issues actually something that outweighs having a child in their home, loving and accepting them? Like I'm very much like people-centered and people-focused because that's what gets shit done, right? People get things done, not laws continuously or all these rules or you know what I'm saying? So
Right.
all of it just has to be like overhauled. And you have to do it and like you just have to do it. Sorry. This whole like we're going to transition into this. You're still causing the problem in the transition. Just do it. Change
Yeah.
it. Get it done. Clean it up.
Kristen, what would you change?
I would probably say like basically kind of the same thing, like investing in families. Like even in Kansas, I've heard like people talking about professional foster homes. Like what is that? And how do you get like all this money invested into foster parents and not investing in the families? And like one thing I
Right.
recently talked about was like even like my relationship with my mom. So like my mom lived in Texas and I didn't like my dad. So like my dad was never going to be an option. But my mom was so far away that the process for like me to try to be placed with her was so long, and then every time they denied it, it was like, okay, now this is going to start over. But like my mom never got help to be the mom that I needed her to be until after I became an adult. But it's like I still felt that need for connection and like bonding with my own family. So I had to take that upon myself as an adult to like try to get my mom to get her life on track so I can kind of have a mom now. And it's hard and it sucks, but it's like if the system would have done that for me when I was a kid, then I wouldn't have had to do this as an adult. And now like my mom is like clean now. Like she was on drugs my whole childhood and now she's not. And like she's like here with my kids and like being a good grandma. So it's like it's possible and I see that it's possible based off of my own life. So it's like why couldn't y'all have done that for me when I was a kid so I didn't have to do it myself as an adult. So like
Yeah.
investing in the families, actually caring about them, not overstaffing social workers that don't
Hmm.
do shit. Like I have 100 kids on my case and I only talk to them once every 2 months. Like that's not helping anybody.
Hmm. I agree. So I was probably one of the last groups who experienced the difference between, even though I was young, I can definitely still reflect and see the difference between the foster care system before it was privatized and then after. Um, and I definitely think that that hindered the process a lot because I remember before um, foster care was privatized, there was a lot more programs. I don't know, obviously, because I was so young, who funded those programs,
Hmm.
but they existed, right? For example, I believe it was often me and my mom, we used to go to what was called pathways, and so that was kind of like bonding time. We would go play games, we would go hang out. Like I actually have a picture of one of those events, but like we would hang out, we would work on our communication and bonding and stuff like that. And then we there's a camp in Wichita called Hiawatha. We would go there, like I want to say in the summertime once a month or something like that. It was a lot, right? um so there was just a lot more programs, and I don't know that they have those now. I haven't heard of anybody going to them.
Yeah.
um there was events that they used to cover and pay for, like Wichita has a hockey team. They would gather up foster kids and foster parents and foster kids and their their parents, go to the hockey games, go to baseball. Like there was like a lot of more bonding opportunities, right? Of course, not all parents would do them, but the opportunity was there a lot
Yeah.
more before foster care system got privatized. So I definitely see a difference. I agree with both of y'all. I think that we need to reconstruct when it comes to the foster care system, and I think that there needs to be a better structure. I don't think that the structure should not exist, right? But I feel like there can be a better structure to protect everyone involved. Because right now, it just seems like it's all about money.
I mean, they're losing kids, so
And
But
they're
asking for pay increases.
literally
like,
losing kids.
how do you lose a child?
Like a lot's going on.
Lot. Yeah.
That and it's just like how so yeah, I agree with both of y'all. I would restructure the system. um and like you said, obviously some kids don't need to be at home,
Right.
but we need to identify which ones that is. And I'm not saying don't take every, I think that taking every case serious is important, but there's some cases that I think could use a little bit more help as well.
Yeah, like
And
families need support and not
and the
just like,
resources, and that's the crazy part, the resources are out there. Why can't we do better with using them, right? Why can't we make it easier to obtain? For example, like, I'm in Texas now, and you know, I am a licensed clinician, but I have to go through a special process just to see foster kids. Why is that? You know, like, why can't I just see them? Like,
not
why can I not offer that service and it be an easier process to get people help that they need? And I mean, I don't know how it is in Kansas, but I'm sure in
oh,
other states it's similar. Like, it's a more difficult process. Like, they favoritize organizations.
Gatekeeping.
Yeah.
gatekeeping. Yeah, definitely.
So I definitely think that there should be a structure.
Like this evidence-based term is like definitely a thing right now in Kansas where they only want to fund evidence-based, which is basically only funding state ran institutions instead of community-based institutions. And I think that is so scandalous.
Yeah. It should be who's best for that person. Like, I think there should be access to everybody, if that, because everybody is different. Like, some of these programs don't fit for everybody.
Right.
So, couple questions and then we can wrap up. What would you tell
Uh-oh,
your
her smile. Sorry.
what would you tell your younger self when you were in foster care? Like, what would you tell her? Like, you're the support now.
Don't give up.
I mean, I wouldn't be me if I hadn't been through those experiences. But at the same time, it would have been nice not to have to go through a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think just knowing, like, if there was some way that I could impart like self love and
Mm-hmm.
like have it really stick and know that like even if no one else has the means or you know mental capacity to take care of you, that doesn't make you any less than the amazing little human being you are. I think I'd like to be able to say that.
I love that. I like that. Um, I would tell my younger self that you're worthy of greatness, because I know that came into question a lot, and that we will make it through it. I think I would tell myself that, and like Kristen said, not to give up, which obviously none of us did, thank God.
I would
But
also tell myself that not everything is your fault because I feel like the system tries to
yeah,
make me accountable for everything that happened to me. And I internalize that a lot. Like everything is your fault. You did this to yourself. And if you didn't do this, then this wouldn't have happened to you. So for me, I was,
Yeah, see,
it's not your fault. It's
I
their
like
yeah.
that. That's good.
And that's true because I feel like since I know your story, I feel like you weren't protected at all.
That's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing. It's the lack of protection.
Hmm.
It's the lack of, you know, here's that teenager on the corner who's doing some bullshit, but is going to go home to that nice house. And because he has good parents or whatever, we won't slap him with a felony, but you going to get slapped with a felony, Kristen. Like, just, yeah, I'm sorry.
It's true.
It's true.
And
And
a kid at that, like, it happens with adults. We know it. It's bullshit. Excuse my language, but with kids, we start them early. Like, really?
yeah. And I think it's so true that, unfortunately, there's a pipeline, and some of us get streamed into it. Um, so, my last question is, what is your advice to foster parents who are taking care of foster children right now?
Use all your resources. Whatever resources are out there for foster parents, use them. Therapy. Yes, y'all still need to go to therapy. Um, Whatever, if there are financial resources for the kids, use them. Um, just use all of your resources because if you're the actual foster parent that cares and wants to see these kids doing well and going, being fruitful adults growing up when they age out, you have to give them everything that they need. So you
Mhm.
need to have all the support as well. So get all the resources.
I agree. Christy, you got any advice for the foster people?
I would say kids do not need another probation officer. They do not need another person
Mhm.
trying to hold them accountable or to like be the eyes on their life. They need relationships. They need to have a bond with people. They need to have adults that actually care about them. And I would say foster kids bullshit meter is way better than anybody else. So if you
Yep.
don't sincerely care, they are going to know and they're not going to want to mess with you. Like they will feel that energy. So you need to be sincere and you need to actually try to build the relationship and not be a probation officer.
I agree. My advice would be also to get to know that kid because they're more than just a foster kid. And I would say try to, as best as you can, make it normal, right? Because I feel like at least when I was in the system, I felt like it wasn't a normal home. It wasn't a normal experience. Like, it was I wasn't often able to go hang out with friends. I wasn't able to engage in, cheerleading or any kind of activities. Um, so I think that if we were able to, and I don't know what the limitations are. There may be limitations that the state puts on you, but I think that with a simple conversation of interest, it can happen, allowing them to engage in these after school extracurricular activities. I think that would help them stay on the right path. So just try to bring some sort of, normalcy to their life. That is my advice. So we're going to wrap up. Thank y'all for joining me in this conversation. Where can everybody find y'all?
Um, You can find me on Facebook at A Jane of All Trades. That's kind of like my business. Also, Claire's Community Closet as just like a social organizer. I just do different things just to try to help people get things that they need. I'm calming down some just because I'm about to have a baby. But if people ever like need something or just like resources or finding out information, let's figure it out. Like go to Claire's Community Closet and we'll figure it out.
And you go all the way to Kansas City, right?
Yeah, I mean, I try not to. If somebody can pay for some gas, it'd be all right. But I will. I will.
Kristen, where can they find you?
I have Facebook. My name is Kristen Nicole. I don't like my dad, so that's why my last name is not included. And then I have a LinkedIn, which is Kristen Nicole Powell. And then Instagram is kristen.nicole.powell.
Oh, I have a LinkedIn too. Shoot.
Professional networking. I
Not
was
that I ever use.
messed up systems. Hire me.
I don't ever use it, but it's fine. I got one.
I'm gonna add you.
And of course, y'all can find me at Calliope's Corner SA on Instagram, Calliope's Corner on Facebook, and Calliope's Corner on YouTube. We will see y'all next time. Bye.
Bye.